Recording in progress.
So I was a teacher to begin with, actually a band director. I was did 10 years at a K-12 school, so I taught every grade level K through 12. So I've had students of all ages. Then I went to Decatur, where I was the middle school band director at Cedar Ridge Middle School, and then from there, I tell people I was demoted to assistant principal and demoted to principal, and then finally demoted to our central office, where I got involved with workforce development. And that really, I think, speaks most to this part of my journey. As a career tech director, I would go to a lot of local workforce development meetings, and I would hear from employers who just had trouble finding people to fill spots that they needed, especially folks who were skilled or had the training that they needed. And so I would be at these meetings, and everybody would talk about the needs, but there were not many people doing much about it at the time. So at about that time, I've been in the school system for about 30 years, and so I was looking at what my next project might be. That's when I saw the advertisement for NAHA and what we were going to be doing here, and I thought, you know what, this is my chance to be boots on the ground. I'm going to go help train people and help them enter the workforce. And so we started in January of 2020, and we finished our first class, and then COVID hit. So we did get one before COVID. Luckily, though, we weren't shut down for very long. We took about a month and a half, 2 months to figure out how to open back up and keep on going. Since then, we've had over 568, I think, is our current total graduates since we began in January 2020. Of that, we know that about 65 to 70% of those actually enter the construction workforce. And once they enter the construction workforce, we know that about 85 to 90% of them stay employed in construction. So, and just the thumbnail sketch of what we do, our typical elevator speech, it's free, first of all. So anybody can come take the classes if they're looking to go to work in construction. It's only 16 classes long. They can do that 8 weeks to nights a week, or we can do it 4 weeks, 4 days a week. It's the same content, same course. It's really just focused on basic skills that you need in construction. And then we bring in employers who are looking to hire. We also help our students develop resumes that we share out with employers who have immediate hiring needs. So we're not an employment agency, and we don't place people in jobs, but we are a connector with lots of resources, and we do our best to help our students who really want to go to work in construction find that placement that they're looking for. Construction is a fabulous career opportunity. A lot of people don't think of it as a career; they think of it as just a job. But we help show our students that no, you can. Everybody in residential construction starts at that entry level. Even company owners start at the entry level, but they work their way up through skill, through hard work, through training, and the sky's the limit. It's really up to the individual how far they go.
Oh, wow. Okay. So with the construction training, are there other elements to it as well? With the basics, is it just construction, or are there a few more areas?
So in what we do, of course, there are the basic skills, the tools like power tools, hand tools. We also the last five classes are trade specific, so our students choose one of four trades: electrical, carpentry, HVAC, or plumbing to specialize in. There's also two classes that are work site safety. So an employer that hires one of our students knows that they have been trained on how to be safe on the job site. We also do some interview skills and some career development skills. We also bring in speakers from each of the four trades, and we bring in an insurance specialist to talk to our students, because a lot of our graduates come in with the idea that they eventually want to own their own business. So we start planting the seeds about what kind of insurances you need to protect yourself as a business owner. And we also have just added recently financial literacy. So we have someone from Merrill Lynch who comes in and talks about for new employees investing in 401k and investing in a savings plan, while at the same time looking at investing in the stock market for the future as well. So we was a wide range of topics, but again, our goal is to remove barriers for those who are looking for success. And so we try to equip our students with everything that we think that they need to get off to a great start in a career.
That's fantastic. I love the other components that you've added with the insurance and then the financial literacy. That's amazing. When you talked about barriers, what type of barriers do you all experience?
So, one of the things that I think some of our graduates or students who are wanting to go to work in the construction industry, first of all, it's just the opportunity. We actively seek out individuals who may not realize that this is a great pathway for them. And so we look for partnerships with organizations that, for those who are, have may not have considered construction or may not have thought they would be able to start in construction. So we actively seek out folks who maybe fit that category who need the opportunity. Then there are things that we do to help break down barriers. For instance, a lot of training programs will provide the training and then they'll say, okay, hit the streets, go find a job. We actually bring the employers in. So that's one thing that we do. Also, any of our students that complete our program and go to work in construction, we give them the set of tools that they use to complete our program to start the job. So they actually, if they get a job in construction, leave us with about a $250 set of tools. Because if they were just to go hire with a construction company off the street, the first thing they're going to be given is a list of tools they need to provide for themselves. So that's another way that we're kind of breaking down the barriers. Also, even something as simple as providing interview practice. We tell our students all the time, you may think you know how you're going to respond to a question, but until you actually have to voice it, you just never know how it's going to sound. So we have opportunities for our students to practice with interviewers in sessions. Another thing that we've done recently, probably about 6 or 8 months ago, is we actually have hired a bilingual staff member, so that some of the language barriers that folks have seen in the past, we're trying to work through those. She has actually translated all of our curriculum into Spanish. We have Spanish materials available. So again, we're just looking for anything that we can do to make it easier for any of our students to transition easily into the workforce.
Mm-hmm. When you talk with the contractors, what are the contractors looking for?
It's funny, because they're not necessarily looking for certifications, and that's what a lot of people think. What they're looking for are people who can first pass a drug screen, and our students do have to pass a drug screen to start class. That they will show up on time, that they will be a great team member, because if you go to work in construction, you're going to be working with a crew of people. So you got to be able to get along with folks and, be able, we call it being coachable. You have to be able to take instruction and understand that just because somebody asks you to do something differently or a different way doesn't mean they're criticizing. They just need to get, they need you to do it the right way. So, those are the characteristics I think most of them are looking for. Now, having that work site safety certification or having a certain skill set, it does help and it might make someone, more employable. But in the long run, they're just looking for someone who's going to show up and do the job, show up consistently. They're not calling in, every time you turn around, that kind of thing.
So have you seen more consistency with what you all are doing and how you all are preparing the students? I mean, I know that you gave some of the stats in the very beginning, but are you seeing more consistency with the attendance of school, with the classes?
Sure. I would say two things I would say about that is, first of all, because we focus more on hands-on and because we take an attitude of inclusivity. So we tell people up front, we do have tests that you take, but they're not designed to keep people out. They're really designed as checkpoints for the student. So everything that we do is built towards success. We set the standards up front. We talk about it up front. Here's, there's not going to be surprises. Here's what you're going to get. Here's what we expect. And so I would say that, because and we treat everybody with respect, and because of that, the experience is going to be a positive experience here. And as a result, a lot of our graduates who may not have had much success in a typical school setting, they will come back to us for extra trainings after they graduate, just because now they understand how they can be successful, and with the things that we offer, they have that desire to learn more and more. So any of our students, any of our graduates can come back and do. I explained about the trades that we do. You can only do one at a time, but we let our graduates come back and do just the last 5 classes of a different trade as often as they want. So a lot of our graduates will come back and do all 4 trades over time, just because they've had success and they have the desire to do well. One interesting thing that comment that came at a Huntsville City Council meeting, we were doing a presentation because we did get an appropriation from the City Council, and that we were giving them an update about our program. And Shane Davis, who works for the city in the mayor's office, he actually told the City Council that since NAHA came into existence, the inspection department has seen a decrease in the number of re-inspections required. In other words, a failed inspection that had to be re-inspected by a significant percent. I want to say like 30%. And he attributed that to the basic skills instruction that we're providing for all these folks that are entering the construction workforce locally. So I think that spoke volumes about just having solid basic skills, and and having people understand you got to be a team member, you got to do your best, and and have an understanding of what you're doing and be coachable. I think that has helped even the inspection department, because now they're not having to go back and re-inspect failed construction projects.
How do you deal with? I mean, that's quite an accomplishment, and that's highly significant, to have that type of response, regarding the training that you all are providing. How do you all deal with individuals that do come in, and let's say that they might be having some external issues and they start the classes, they may not really stay caught up with the homework and whatnot? How do you all go about navigating and kind of preserving that student?
Sure. So again, when we have our orientation up front, we say we want you to be successful, and the biggest key to success in our program is communication. Just like communication is going to be so important when you start a job. And so, and I tell people when we do the orientation, if something happens in your life that's making it difficult for you to continue with the classes, to do the schoolwork or whatever, let somebody know, because we will do everything we can to work with you. And I even give examples, like we had one of our students started class, and this was several years ago when one of the hurricanes hit Louisiana, and they had family members down there. Of course, we let them, they need to go help their family members, and we worked it out for them to come back and finish the classes later. Our attitude is we don't exit you from the program. We're going to enroll you in the next class and let you finish if something like that happens. Sometimes it may be something as simple as I don't have a device, or I don't have a computer to do the work or the classwork or whatever, and we provide we have computers that they can come here and do that. We start with the mentality of we're going to do everything we can on our end to help you get through the program. And again, because that's communicated, I think the understanding is if I just let somebody know, we'll figure it out. Now, sometimes people ask about the drug screen, and we do have occasionally some folks that come in and they don't pass. And so our attitude about that is I have the conversation with them that, it's an insurance thing is the reason we have to do the drug screen, because we have, power tools and that kind of thing. So if they don't pass, I tell them, listen, let me enroll you in the next class. I'll give you time to get things out of your system and then come start, next time around. You'd be surprised the number of young folks that have taken advantage of that and come and been some of our best students, because they realize this was not and I tell them this is a no judgment zone. I'm not saying anything about, what you may have done, here's how we can move forward. And so I think they take
Mhm.
that as an opportunity to move forward when they might in the past have been just, excluded.
Mhm. Mhm. I like the support. I like that continued support through communication. How do you all get the word out about NAHA?
It's funny. We track all kinds of data. Marley and myself are data nerds. That goes back to my history with the school system. So we track all kinds of information, and one of those is how did you hear about us? And the funny thing is our greatest recruiter are other people. So word of mouth has been our best recruiter. Folks like yourself who refer clients to us. Marley, by the way, is one of our folks here at NAHA. She does our community engagement. She was at the Career Center, at the local Alabama Career Center, and they were telling her yesterday that they have referred all kinds of people to us over the past few months. And that's we've had family members that have told, that have come through the program and then referred family members. We had one gentleman came through. He had been working fast food basically, came through our program, has been highly successful. He started out with no knowledge of construction and now is a level 4 certified HVAC technician. And he had a
Wow.
friend that he was working with at this same fast food place, and he encouraged her to come through the program. So word of mouth is really our best thing. Now we do a lot of hopefully you've seen us on Facebook and Instagram and all that good stuff too. But the people who have experienced success are really out there telling other people about us.
What when you do have people that are coming to you and they're interested, what area with the four different areas that you all do the basics in, which area are they drawn to the most?
It's really they're fairly equal. I would say by far the most popular has been electrical, and I'm not sure why that is. That's just what most people are drawn to. I would say that HVAC probably contains elements of all four of the trades that we deal with, because in HVAC you have to know how to run a little bit of plumbing, you have to know a little bit about electricity, you have to know a little bit about carpentry because you're building out duct work and mounting duct work and all that kind of stuff. So HVAC contains a little bit of all four. Plumbing, we had to convince people that plumbing is not always dirty water. But we have company owners come and talk to our students about each of the trades and what it's like a day in the life of their trade. And it's a chance for our students to ask those questions, the things they may not be sure about or may have hesitation about. So it's funny that they may start off not interested in plumbing, but once they talk to that company owner, they see what it's really about. And we have a lot that may have been planning to do something else that wind up going into plumbing after that.
Now, if you could look back and think about all your years in education, do you think, if you had that second chance to do it all over again, would you have chosen what you're doing now first?
Well, I don't know. I'm a musician at heart, so band director, was kind of near and dear to me. But I will say this: part of my part of my journey that I didn't mention before is that as I became an administrator, I have two sons, and they graduated from high school. We sent both of them to college because that's what we thought we were supposed to do. Turns out neither one of them finished college for different reasons, and I kind of watched them struggle to find their next step because they're just in, they weren't aware of what opportunities were available. Now they're both living their best life right now, and they're both very successful. But watching them try to figure out the next step has kind of guided this what I do now, and that's why we spend a lot of time in schools. We do a lot of school visits. We do a lot of outreach to community centers, Boys and Girls Club, everything like that, the Housing Authority, mainly because we want students who graduate from high school to understand that yes, college is a great career option if that's what you need, but there are other great career options that don't require a degree of any kind, and you can start with us well, there's no cost to our program. So it's a great way to jump into a career really fast after you graduate school. So that's, I don't know that I would change the path. What I'm doing now is I really feel like again, we're a connector. So we're helping people find themselves. And that's a great, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I love this job and I love what we do. And we're all very passionate about the mission here. Um, so it's been I've wound up where I need to be. I know that.
And I've been over to their office, and so it is this great spirit that I'm greeted with each and every time. So I know that you all are enjoying what you do. I know
Yes.
it. So when you were talking about the different groups of people that you interface with, and you and I have talked a little bit, Tommy, as far as Huntsville Housing Authority, and we serve at-risk, underserved population. How do you feel? What do you think is the best incentivizing method, for people that might be in super survival mode or might be in, just different life modes that may not be compatible with, these different skill sets or whatever. But how do you find how do you find yourselves incentivizing, and not necessarily with carrots or, dangling things or whatever, but it's just, how do we get them motivated to realize that this is actually the future and it's a really good future?
Sure. Well, I think first of all, one of the things that's attractive about the way our approach to this is we're not talking about a long-term commitment. I mean, this is 16 classes, and
Mhm.
for someone like you said who's in survival mode, and we understand that, again, there's no judgment here. We're going to support. We're going to do everything we can to help. One of my favorite stories about one of my favorite graduates is we had a gentleman here. He was homeless. He was living in one of the tent cities here in Huntsville. Came to our information session, and after it was over with, he stopped me and explained the situation. He said, "Can I come to class?" I said, "Absolutely, you can come to our class." He would actually walk to class every day from where he was staying. He stopped somewhere along the way to get a lunch. He came to our day class. He would get a lunch from someone that was helping folks down on their luck. He would come sit in our classroom, get here about an hour early each time. I'd make him a cup of coffee and just let him sit here and get ready for class. He wound up at the end of the class in a job making $16 an hour. And the last time we talked with him, he had gone from that tent to living in an apartment with some friends to living in his own house. And so, we tell those stories and we share those stories with our students to let them know and to show them that even with just a 16 class course like ours and motivation, you can turn your life around so easily.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good stuff. Um, so what I was going to say now is, does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to ask Tommy a question or put it in the chat? Or are you brave enough to show your face? Anybody? Anybody? No, no takers. I know
Now,
some of these people.
Lindsay, I couldn't get off mute
There
fast
she
enough.
is. There she is. There she is.
I was like,
Hi, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I couldn't find my mute button fast enough. I let me just say, first name, my name is Jackie French. I actually service the workforce development uh, director, Section 3 for the Birmingham Housing Authority. And let me just say, I'm glued to this. I'm at a conference, y'all, so I had to come out and definitely join. But Tommy, I think this is fantastic. I know we have some similar things here in Birmingham, but none quite like what you guys got. And I think this is absolutely fantastic. But my question is, what is the normal time frame for your trades as far as from start to finish?
um, well, before I get to your question, let me just say this. If it's okay to share, we actually were just given a $500,000 grant by the Lowe's Corporation, their
Oh,
foundation,
wow.
to extend our training to satellite classes across the state, and we hope we're going to be coming to Birmingham soon. We're in discussion with some folks about that, so look for us there.
I will.
Mobile, I think, is going to be our first satellite, and then hopefully Birmingham will be online not long
Okay.
after that. So I'm not sure I understand quite the nature of your question, but I'm going to take a stab anyway. So what we do is we start with those basic skills, and then we have the 5 classes in the trades. And those 5 classes, we tell the students up front, this is not a certification. This is, we're going to teach you about the basic tools and the basic processes for that trade. And then when you go to work for an employer, they are going to invest in you and further your training. So, for instance, the gentleman I was talking about a little while ago, who had no training but came to us, and he's now a level 4 technician. Well, he came from a job where he was making $10 an hour. After our program, he was hired, I think, at $15 an hour. And then with each level of training that he completed, he is now making $25 an hour. But that's been over the course of about 3 years of training on the job.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So you kind of answered it. I was just wondering because it sounds familiar to Youth Bill, where they're getting their high school diploma or equivalency, and then it's self-paced because some move through that part of the course quickly. Some take a little bit longer in order to get those skills, and then they can move on to NCC. I think it's NCCR. Where they'll get those type of certifications or they'll get those credentials. So yeah, I get it.
And we were actually working to partner with Youth Build here in Huntsville. We had a meeting with them about undertaking some projects to help some of them. And we've actually done some hands-on classes with them, but we've not quite gotten to the project stage yet. But hopefully that's something we're going to be able to finish out and do with them.
Yeah, this is fantastic. The minute you said y'all were on Facebook, of course I went straight to your Facebook page. So you have a new follower.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Thank you, Jackie. Good to see you. Good to hear you.
You as well.
Yes. Anybody else? Anybody else have a question for Tommy? We're kind of running a little early here. Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Oh, hi, Miss Lindsay.
Hi.
Tommy.
Hi.
Yes. So what would be? I don't think I was here during the very beginning, but what would be like the age range, like for especially women to be in the trade?
Oh, sure. So, and I'm glad you asked that. I failed to tell you that right now our current stats show us that about 25% of our students, our graduates, are female. So, a lot of people think that this is not a career path for the ladies, but yes, it is. We have very, very successful, a lot of success with our graduates and there's actually speaking of that, an electrical company here locally that has an all-female crew that they've hired and filled out with a lot of our graduates. So we're very proud of that. So we typically serve 17 and up. And we, again, we ask that if you're coming to our classes, you're ready to go to work in construction. We have some folks who come to us from other careers, so they're career changers. We've had some that are, especially with us being near Redstone Arsenal, they are transitioning out of the military, and so we've had some folks come through like that. There's really no upper age limit, and again, because we know that at different stages of life, people are looking for different things, and so we pretty much take anybody that's over 17. Below 17, it gets a little tricky because a lot of companies can't hire anyone younger than that because of their insurance.
Right. And I was going to ask you something else. Sorry. What about like for single parents? Like, what would there be a conflict with scheduling, or is it?
So I'm not sure if are you talking about as far as I mean,
Like if
there's no.
I'm a single parent, and what if like I don't know, a child got sick or anything, and
Oh,
would it be a
yeah,
problem
I'm
with
glad you. Yes, yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. So again, that's that thing. We do everything we can to work with folks. We understand that life happens and emergencies come up, and so we start out. We do have an attendance policy, but again, it's about communication. So as long as you let that instructor know, for the most part, we can work it out. Now we have found out of the 16 classes, if you get to a third class that you've missed, it's hard to make up. So what we do is we don't take you out of the program. We just say, hey, it might be easier for you with all that's going on if you enroll in the next cohort and pick up where you left off and finish the program that way. Again, we've had folks that have had family members get sick, where there's been death in the family, and we always try to work out some way if we can catch them up while the class is going on. We do that. If not, we enroll them in the next session and let them pick up where they left off. Does that answer your question? I hope.
Yes, it does. And if you don't mind, can I ask you one more?
Sure.
What time are the classes like? Is
Okay,
daytime,
so
nighttime?
sure, the night classes are Tuesday and Thursday, 5:30 to 8:30. The afternoon classes are Monday through Thursday, 2 to 5. And it doesn't matter to us which one you enroll in. It's pretty much the same curriculum either way. Now, I will say that the night class has more of the trade specific options. It's hard sometimes to find an instructor during the day for like the plumbing or the HVAC. But we do work it out, or try to work it out if we can. If we have somebody who wants to do that in day class, it's just a little difficult to find folks who can teach. The folks that are teaching at night, they're all working during the day, so they're working their trade during the day. And so when you come to us, you're getting taught by the professionals. I mean, the people who are in the field doing it all the time. So
Well, thank you so much.
sure. I failed also,
Thank-
Lindsay, to mention to enroll in our classes. You just go to our website. Our website is gobuildyourfuture.com, and there's an apply button on there. When you click on that, fill out your information. Then we have you'll select an information session date. We like everybody to let us explain the program in its entirety, tour the facility, and then at the info session, we actually help you enroll for the class.
Okay. All right. Now, do you all have a welding component, or are you looking at that in the future?
We do, we do not, and we get asked that a lot. And so typically, I will refer students who are interested in welding. I'll refer them either to Drake State or to Calhoun. Okay. They both have great welding programs. We have a partnership with Drake. We do an advanced carpentry class, so our graduates can take an advanced carpentry that's funded through Drake's adult ed program. And so again, it's free to our students or the students who participate in it. And if you've come through our boot camp and you do the advanced carpentry, that is credit towards an associate's degree. It's actually a short-term certificate, so it's basically a third of an associate's degree. And again, our students, if they experience success, the goal is that they would enroll in Drake then and finish out that associate's.
Okay. All right. As far as resources, and what I mean by that is, so for instance, there's a business side to construction, HVAC, plumbing, electrical. Do you all do any type of resourcing or outsourcing to people that might be interested in the administrative side of that, or is it just strictly this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so, part of the financial literacy and the insurance as part of it has kind of started to tap into that. One of the things that we are starting to is we're starting a student chapter with the National Association of Home Builders. That's a new thing for us. And with that, we're doing quarterly professional development sessions for our graduates. And so we're tackling different topics each quarter that are relative to that. It's interesting that you say that about the administrative side too, because we've actually had administrative employees like accountants, the bookkeepers, that kind of thing, office personnel that work for construction companies who have come through our program because they wanted to better understand their job. And so we've actually started, advertising that to business owners saying, hey, your office folks can benefit from coming through here too, because now all of a sudden they can talk the language to people that call, to customers, and know what they're talking about. So we actually, when we first started, one of our earliest classes, we had a young lady who came through and was really interested in the HVAC world, but wound up working in the office for this one company. Was a fabulous, and she was a dispatcher. So because she had been here, she could take a call from a customer, understand what the issue was, and then communicate that to the technician that she was dispatching to the job. So a lot of people think that that being in construction is being on a crew swinging a hammer or something like that. But there are so many aspects to the construction industry. Even we've had some folks that have wound up in warehouse jobs at like an inline electric or something like that. Again, because they understand the industry, they understand the parts and the pieces and the things that go with it. So there's many avenues that you can, many ways to be employed that are not necessarily out in the heat and the sun.
Right, right. And that's good to know. That's good to know as well, because that's that cross training,
Right.
aspect that you might get with the job. How many students do you have at one time in one session?
Sure. In our night class, we will typically enroll as many as 25. And in the afternoon classes, we typically will limit that 10 to 15. And the reason being, again, the instructors. So in the evening, we have one lead instructor who kind of teaches the majority of the classes, and at night he has an assistant. So when you get too many in a workshop and with a lot of saws going and everything, then it becomes a safety concern. So our first goal is to keep everybody safe. So we do limit it to those numbers. And excuse me. And right now we are running full classes. So we've had a lot of enrollment lately in both the evening and the afternoon classes. So we're actually enrolling not the next session, but the session after currently, because there is a lot of interest in one of the things that a lot of folks found out during COVID is that construction was COVID proof. Construction did not shut down during COVID. As a matter of fact, if anything, it ramped up because a lot of people were sitting at home realizing they needed to get some work done. And so construction stayed busy the entire time. Nobody was laid off or, lost their job because of the pandemic. And so I know a lot of people are worried about AI taking jobs and that kind of thing, but there's not, AI is not going to build a house or install your HVAC. So, I think a lot of people are migrating towards this industry because of that.
Okay, Tommy, I got a quick question. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
please,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Yeah, I got a quick
No,
question.
go ahead.
So, and I may have missed it, and I apologize, but I know you have your age criteria. What's your income, the minimum or max income or education? Like if someone has an associate's degree and they just want to change directions in their career, what are those criteria for someone to even be considered or qualified to be in the program?
Sure. So as far as the education level, we don't have any minimum or maximum requirements. So we actually have actually had high school students who have not finished yet. We've also had some who were trying to get their GED, and when we have that happen and we're aware of it, we try to connect them with local resources to help them attain their GED. And then we've had everything up to and including, advanced degrees who were just career changers. So we don't, again, we try to be more as inclusive as we can because, it's not my place to judge somebody's life goal. And if they were in a career they weren't happy with, I'm not going to hold them back from coming through our program if it will lead to a new career path for them. As far
So
as
is it a cost?
No, ma'am. The classes are free to everybody. There's no cost at all. And because of that, we don't have income requirements either. We offer it to anyone who, passes the drug screen, wants to go to work, and will complete the classes. So
I mean,
we're
this is fantastic. Make sure you call me when you get to Birmingham. I'm gonna take you out for a steak or something.
I'll take you up on that for sure.
This is fantastic.
I was going to say that is fantastic. It is to be able to participate in trades like this for free. And that's what I tell wherever I go. I'm like singing your guys' praises. I'm like, they're super cool down there. Call Marley, talk with Tommy. Get and because of where we're situated in Huntsville, we're right around the corner from one of the homeless camps. And so a lot of times we'll have, people that come in that are transient and they're looking for work. And so we're like, hey, go over there. You can get some trades, and the sky is the limit, like what you said before, as far as
Absolutely.
how far you can go, and then the trades that you're never going to be out of work. So, thank you so much for sharing with us today. Everything that you guys are doing with NAHA, I'm really super happy about that $500,000. That just really stuck in my head.
Yeah.
That you were gifted by the Lowe Foundation.
Yeah.
But that is phenomenal. That's phenomenal. And when you guys are talking about satellite classes, does that mean that you guys are going to be mobile, or you're going to have just other? What does that look like?
So actually, what it means is, and we've already done one in Marshall County. So we actually have we established working with the local builders association in Albertville and the school system, and they actually gave us a space, a dedicated classroom for us to use. And so we have a lead instructor that we've hired, and he does that class. And we still do all the administrative side of everything. I pay all the bills. We handle the curriculum. We enroll the students, that kind of thing. And he teaches the class. And so it would be the same thing if we were, for instance, to go to Birmingham. We would work with the local builders association in that area, and we've been in discussion with them already. They would find a location. We would provide the curriculum. We would train the instructors. We also would do the early stages of orientation because we really want to. One of the things we have talked about a lot is we want to safeguard the attitude, the openness that we have about what we do, because I believe that's a huge part of our success. And then they would have a lead instructor from their area that they would hire to kind of take care of the lead classes, and then eventually after the grant is over with, we hope they have had time to establish their funding mechanisms and continue the program on their own. Or they could also let us keep handling the administrative side of it, as long as they can provide the funds to keep teaching the classes. That's one of the options available. So we're really trying to make this as easy as possible, and the reason is because we're doing it this way. We've actually had several associations come visit us to try to start their version of this, and it's just not as easy as they initially thought. We thought, well, we've got everything that you need. You just need to find a location and the funds to pay your instructor and buy the materials and that kind of thing. So that's kind of why we're calling it a satellite class for us, that the local association will hopefully eventually take over.
Okay. All right. And then how do you all maintain the continuity of not having a high turnover with your staff?
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with we all believe in the mission. I mean, it's we all have come to it from different parts of our different careers. For instance, our lead instructor, he was a custom home builder, came from Florida up to this area with family. He retired from that to come be a part of this, and he and all of the trades instructors, they really see this as perpetuating their trades, their skills. And all of our trade specific instructors, like I said, they either work it during the day or they're a retired master, in their trade. And they see the huge need for the workforce in this area. So this is their chance to kind of give back to their own industry. me and Marley.
Mhm.
Marley came from the nonprofit world already, that training, so she had that mindset of helping people. Of course, in education, my mindset has always been to help, help
Mhm.
people, help our children, start their careers. And
Mhm.
again, this is the same thing, but just at a little bit, older level. It's young adults, mainly young adults, but we do have some transitioners, age, career changers. So I don't know. It's
Mhm.
just I think we just all believe in the mission. We're bought in, and it's we see how we're helping people, changing lives every day.
Mhm. Mhm. And you are doing that. I mean, you guys have a really great team, and like I said, everyone that we have referred over there, they have been. I think probably 99% of them have graduated, and we had one particular gentleman that, or a group of gentlemen that came through, and they had a business themselves, but what you all did for them was you all were able to connect the vocabulary, the language of the trades with their
Right.
tools. Like they I guess they had names for their tools or whatever, but you guys were able to connect for them the legitimate names of those tools, which really enhanced their business
Right.
intelligence and their skill set. So thank you for that so much. Anybody else have any questions? We're getting ready to, I think, get off just a little bit early. I want to leave your information in the chat, Tommy. So
Okay.
while I'm doing that, if anybody has any questions or comments.
I was wondering if that
Oh,
was you, Patty. I thought it was. I just wanted to be sure.
It is, and I've got to jump to another meeting, but I'm at Wallace State, so good to
Oh,
see you.
great. You
Yeah,
too. You too.
thank
I'm
you for coming. Thank
all
you.
right. Great session. Talk to you later.
Thank
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So Patty and I
So,
worked
And
worked
then,
Tommy,
together at Cedar Ridge, and when I was in the middle
okay,
school world, yeah.
okay.
hi.
Let me have your phone number where they can reach you,
Sure.
and I'm ready.
256 936 1800.
Okay, so I'm putting that in the chat, everybody. And again, Tommy, thank you so much for taking time out to share with us what you guys are doing. You guys have some major accomplishments going on, and we wish you the best because
Thank you.
you're making such an impact and a difference in the workforce area of Huntsville. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. I love doing this. I love talking about our program. I'm going to be honest.
So hopefully some of you that are on, maybe if you're interested, but tell a friend, share the news. Like I always say to people, I emphasize this is a free program, that's probably worth about what, $3,000 maybe or more.
That's what we
Am
estimate.
I, am
We
I
tell
exaggerating?
no, you're not. We tell everybody that
Okay.
we're scholarshiping them $2,500 to. It costs us about that
Yeah.
much per student to do the class.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, this is free training. So take advantage of it. They will work with you, like he stated. And as real as he is right now, he is that real in person, and his staff is amazing. So just
Thank you.
kudos to you guys. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Thank you for taking the time out to spend. I hope that you learned some really good information about North Alabama Home Building Academy, and we will see you next month. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.